What do you all think about me? Don't answer. That's a very rhetorical question. The reason I ask that is because everyone has an opinion. You might hate me, or you might like me. It doesn't really matter to me. You're all entitled to your opinion, and I will fight to the death your right to say that. The reason I ask this question is because you know me as I am now. So today, I'm here to talk about how people become adults, how people go from being a teenager fresh out of high school, and how a few simple years by themselves can change who they are drastically. I don't consider myself the same person I was 2.5 years ago. 17 years old. I just graduated high school. I was nearly 18, and I lived in a very small town, and it just wasn't the place I wanted to be. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I figured if I got out there, I'd eventually be fine. I'd know what I want. So I moved 6 hours away, and I lived in Kelowna. Got to Kelowna. I had a friend that had graduated the year before, and I moved in with him. We had a small apartment in a very ghetto neighborhood. It wasn't the best part. I'm not really sure how many good parts there are in the actual city. And I found a job very quickly. This was actually, it was a good job. I was working, and I was in the produce department. It was my first real job outside of high school. I had worked a bit before. Now, when I got there, it was very nerve-wracking for me. 17-year-old kid, never lived on his own before. I was leaving my parents. I was leaving everything behind. I didn't know anyone in this town other than my roommate. It's scary. And when I was 17 years old, I would go as far to say I wasn't really the most mature fellow. I was very stuck in my high school ways still. And about 2 weeks after I started that job, I had a bit of a meltdown, and I ended up quitting the job. To this day, I don't really know why. I think it was just the stress of leaving home and then trying to figure out everything myself. I just randomly quit the job. Put all this stress on my family, put all this stress on my roommates. Like, you just quit your job. What are you doing, you idiot? And I really didn't have an answer. So, I'm probably the luckiest person I know. Because after I eventually got over this mental breakdown, I eventually got everything back together in my life. And then I found the same job in a different store. And it was in the same department, I was getting paid more, and it was closer to where I lived. So, that was lucky on my part. And after that, to me, it was kind of a wake-up call. I realized that this type of opportunity, this type of luck, doesn't come to everyone, and it's not likely to come back to me again. So from there on, I kind of made a pledge to myself that I would become more of a mature person. I would learn how to take care of myself. So that's what I did. And over the next year, I eventually just got into the habit of cleaning up my house, of keeping my job, showing up on time, and just being as best an adult as I could. It was great. Living with my roommate still. We're both working together. Eventually, he has to leave, though. He joins the Army. This is about a year later. He's currently stationed in Quebec still right now. He just got through all his basic training for artillery. And he had to leave within 2 months. They're supposed to give you a 4-month notice, but they didn't for him for some odd reason. And then I'm all alone in this apartment. I can't afford it myself, so I had to look for a roommate. It took me about a month to find one. Eventually, it was my supervisor at work. 26-year-old guy. He's kind of a cool dude as far as I know. I don't really know him all that well, but I need a roommate. And he was looking for a new place. Invite him in, and eventually he just becomes my roommate. 26-year-old guy. I quickly found out he's a man-child by every sense of the term. So here you've got this 19-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, who's pushing 30 at this point. This guy, he couldn't cook for. He would order in. He would go get McDonald's every day, right? All he would do all day was play League of Legends, the same video game, every single day, hours on end when he wasn't at work. He couldn't clean up the house. He couldn't clean the bathroom. He had a 40-year-old girlfriend who would come by and clean up for him every now and then. She would take him out places. I assume she bought his clothes, too. This guy was just... he was not who I wanted to be. And I can't help but feel that if it weren't for myself moving out and being forced to mature over these years, that there was a pretty good chance I might have ended up like him. Because there's a lot of similarities that me at 17 had with him at 26, 27. It's also worth mentioning he had lived with his parents apparently before he moved into my place. That probably didn't help things. It explains the 40-year-old girlfriend, definitely. So, this is the importance of people moving out and being independent once they get out of high school. If you need to take a couple years and still live at home, that's fine. But I can't help but feel that if I hadn't taken the initiative, if I hadn't hit rock bottom first, I don't think I would have become the person who I am today. The person that you see right here. You might like me, you might hate me, but I'm a lot more confident, I'm a lot more proud of who I am today. And I sure as hell know I don't want to be the guy who, when I tell him that our ceiling is leaking because of a water pipe, he looks at me and goes, oh, really?